Don,
Angie.
you're a good listener, right?
Sorry, what did you just say?
Very funny. But what do you think makes someone a good listener?
I like that question. I'd say I know someone is a good listener when I can tell that they're picking up what I'm putting down.
So, do you mean that you can tell someone is a good listener if they understand what you're saying to them?
See, I knew you'd get it, Angie.
I do get it. And I know that good listening skills also build trust.
Oh, yes, they do. I can't wait to get into it. Let's start the show.
I'm ready.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie, the show for professional coaches that explores the ins and outs of coaching, from working with clients through to running and marketing your coaching business.
If you're a professional coach who's committed to your own personal and professional growth, cares about making a difference, and wants to have a successful coaching business, you're in the right place.
My name's John Ball.
And I'm Angela Bezignano.
Between us, we have over 50 years of coaching experience and best practices to share with you. From getting started to scaling up your business.
We know what works and what doesn't, as well as what it really takes to have a successful and thriving coaching business.
With new episodes every Wednesday.
Make sure you're subscribed to get them fresh.
Listening skills, Angie. Gosh, it's been a little while since we talked about coaching skills and talents and development. So I thought it would be good to come back to it. And listening skills is a good one. I think in this episode, we want to talk about maybe things like active listening. I want to get onto tactical empathy and things like that. But tell me a little bit about your thoughts on important listening skills for coaches.
So it's so funny because I feel like the term active listening, like all of these things are just new, right? They're newer. It's not something like I don't look at listening as something that I had to perfect, but then I realized not so much with clients, but there were times in my life where, I don't know, I'm on the phone with somebody or I'm talking to somebody in the room and I'm doing something else. And although I'm hearing them, am I really understanding it? I believe, this is me, that you cannot multitask and truly be listening. I get it, right? The whole concept, active listening, right? Which is what, like, how would you describe active listening?
Two ways to describe that. One is, I think, what people often commonly do, which is just going, various intervals, so that whoever you're speaking to sounds like you're listening.
Okay.
So just making some noises at regular intervals.
Sure.
That's one thing of it. But no, I think active listening is where you really are paying attention to what the person is saying. And I think that's why I wanted to tie it in with something like tactical empathy, which is the Chris Voss thing from Never Split the Difference. Although I don't think he necessarily created the concept, he just named it. It's a specific thing, which is about repeating back to people what they've essentially just told you. It's a mirroring technique for people who've done like NLP trainings and things like that. And so you are reflecting back what's been said. And sometimes you can do that for understanding as well. But what it also has that advantageous effect of doing is showing the person or demonstrating to the person that you're speaking to that you really are listening to them and intending to understand them. If you are going to interject noises into a conversation, they should be a bit more valuable than
Wait,
my
I do that all the
opinion.
time. What are you talking about? I did it all the time in our show. Anybody who's listening knows that when you're talking and whatever it is you're talking, I'll go, yeah. So I don't know. We need to talk. But anyway.
I did what you said about that we can't multitask and be properly listening to somebody else. And I've done it on coaching calls and I usually end up regretting it. I've been caught out doing it as well. And when I say caught out, if you hear someone say the question, so what do you think? Oh, crap.
Oh, shit.
What do they got? What?
Okay. Right. So you're hearing sound, but you're not absorbing what's even being said. And I think that's the point, right? I could be in the same room with somebody, especially if I'm cooking or I'm doing something that is like really meaningless. It doesn't require, it's more like turn on the water, watch the dish. I can listen, but it's interesting that in those circumstances, if somebody does say something really important, I stop, right? The sponge goes down, the water goes off, and I can turn and look at them and say, what? So I recognize through a very silly, and that had happened, scenario that there's a very big difference between really listening and just hearing somebody,
Mm.
right? Or
Yeah.
listening to respond rather than to understand, which is huge because all you're thinking about is what you want to say with the first part of the so we know that does not sit well. And I love what you just said. I'm sorry, my phone just beeped. What'd you say? Whatever. To get past that embarrassing
Squirrel.
moment,
Yes.
you're caught,
Exactly
busted.
that. Yeah. It's happened to me a few times. I will hold my hands up to that. And it's not because of not wanting to pay attention or be listening to the client. Although I can think of at least one occasion where the client did have a very drony voice and I probably was getting a little bit bored. But I do still like to give people the space to think and to speak. But generally, no, it's like maybe typing up notes. But if you forget to turn off notifications or you end up looking at your phone we are so much easier to distract than we probably realize. And just sometimes even just going into your head for a moment to think about something, you miss something important in the conversation because you weren't fully present. It's the one reason why you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to use your mobile phone in the car. You can't drive your car properly and be messing about with your phone at the same time. If you, I don't know about you, but sometimes I've swerved just looking at a lovely view on the road or trying to tune the radios, something like that, because my concentration is slightly taken away from what
Absolutely.
the most important task that I'm trying to do. And that's certainly very true in coaching sessions, that if your attention is taken away, even just momentarily, you could miss something important.
I want to address what you said a few minutes ago because you're right, 100%. As a coach, if you are not fully, we're not going to talk about who you are in the rest of your life, but as a coach, if you are not fully present, chances are you're going to miss something important. And to John's joke and his point earlier about the voice, right? If you're listening to somebody, if you have a client that's just going on, number one, either what they're saying is too lengthy, or maybe they don't have a great sing-songy voice, right? That has pitches and things like that to keep your brain in tune. You have to actually take control of that. You have to take action. If you're getting bored, then you as the coach need to take that as a signal and say, okay, wait, let's just take a pause. You have to pattern interrupt in that moment so that you can re-engage because it can happen. We're not perfect. We're still human. And even though you're a coach, not every single minute of every single session is going to be some really great, being this moment where the endorphins get kicked up because we hit a pain point and we're getting some reaction or outcome,
Right.
right?
Or
Sometimes,
maybe you're in a coaching session when you're also in the queue for tickets for Adele's new concert or something like that. You've got a distraction going on.
maybe, yes, that could
But stuff
happen.
like that happens. That's real stuff
Yes,
that happens. And of course it's distracting then. Or
yeah.
Amazon delivery is going to turn up when you're actually on your coaching call.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really have to be able to, because most of us now are doing this remote. John and I talked about this many sessions ago where we talked about whether we coach on the phone or we do it on Zoom. When you're doing it on Zoom, obviously you have more responsibility, right? You're not in your pajamas, like your hair doesn't look like you just rolled out of bed. Like you're actually more prepared. You are actually more prepared. It probably is for that purpose, maybe better. But if you're on the phone, and I think I mentioned this, I was training a coach who I got a complaint, worked for a company, got a complaint that the client heard them whisking eggs. You should not be whisking eggs when you're coaching somebody because you're then not actively listening. You're focused on your eggs. You're not focused on the client. So you really want to set yourself up physically, set yourself up for me, John, you know this, right? Squirrel, something happened. Do you see my eye? We just had a whole conversation before. So for me, I need that quiet. I cannot have the shade open. I have to have just, even if I'm home alone, the door to my office has to be closed because there's just distractions. I know me. I know that I am easily distracted, and I have to prepare my space accordingly. That's the first thing,
Yeah.
preparing my space. The next thing is that if I do run into a situation where I'm starting to nod off because it's like, then I'm letting them talk too much. I am allowing, is this relevant? Is the story important? Where are we going here? So I, as a coach, have to regain control and say, wait, let's pause. Are you saying, and I have to recap because where are we going? Right? We don't want people to just drone on and on. So there are some practices that we need to keep in place so that we know we're remaining like active in the session. So it's not just the
Yeah.
active listening, it's remaining active as the coach in that session.
Because the whole reason we want to be listening well to them is to be picking up what is being said and also maybe what isn't being said. We have
Right.
somewhat touched on before, but this is how you do it. Tuning into the person that you're with. Now, I don't know about you, and you said about a coach who was whisking eggs on the call, and we talked about people doing distracting behaviors whilst you're on a call. We talked before about the things that can distract you
Yeah.
and how easy that is. And I've had clients who've done weird stuff when I've been on calls before. We've talked about this, but I don't like it when my friends do that. One friend I can guarantee we speak regularly. When I call her up or when she calls me up, she'll be making her dinner. She'll be clattering around. She'll be having me
What about
having
me?
no, not you. Funnily enough, you usually with you she's just feeding the dogs, but you think of me your attention. But she's clattering around, putting my speaker on, getting far away from her phone. I can only
Oh,
just hear
yeah.
her. That
Yeah.
drives me nuts. And that's a friend's call. It would make me
Sure.
insane if she's a coach as well. If she was doing that as a coach, gosh, I don't think she would. I know that there are coaches who do, and bad idea. It doesn't really give anyone the trust that you're paying them the due attention. They are paying for you to be there as their coach. They
Yeah.
are, I won't say they're paying for your time, but they are to some degree. They are paying for you to be paying attention to them and to be able to understand well enough what it is they're telling you to be able to dive deeper with them so that, you can just say, don't just want standard responses like, oh, yeah, that's under, they're just telling you something terrible's happened. Oh, yeah, that's great. It's like, if you're not really listening to them, you may find yourself saying really the wrong thing at the wrong moment as well.
Well, and listen, to the point of making it a positive, I want to say this because you just kind of heard this for me. One of the biggest, and one of the most common, I should say, positive feedbacks that I get from my clients consistently, right? Meaning with not just one client, like most of my clients, I really have first, but I would say the majority is that I'm so actively listening that I can remember a detail, even if it wasn't something that we spoke about at the moment. I can go 4 sessions later and say, well, you mentioned in one of our former sessions that XYZ. And when I bring that up, always they go, oh, Angie, I don't even remember saying that, but you're right. I did say that. And I can't believe you remembered that. Clients love when there's kind of proof that you're hearing them. Not just that you're sitting there and that you're responding in that moment, but that you're able to reflect back on their story, so to speak, their journey, and bring information forward. That has been probably the reason why I have repeat customers, that clients that will say, you know what, he is the best because she really is XYZ, paying attention. She gets it. He sees the big picture. She does what I can't do, whatever that is. And so it's not even just, if listening, not just for that moment, but you're learning about them and the journey so that you are able
Yeah.
to pick up and extract information that, go, oh, It's like the no-brainer. You're not going to be able to do that if you're not paying attention. If you're not just wait. On one hand, you cannot just wait for this big, like, action, and you're like, whoa, that was big. Or at the same time, you also can't look for everything to be the big thing, because sometimes there's a buildup to that. So those are some really pearls.
To add to that, if you're really not listening well, you can't honestly expect the relationship to be deepening with your client. And if you want to be in a long-term coaching relationship with a client, you do need to work on deepening the relationship. You do need to be their trusted guide for whatever it is that you're working with them on. If you give them any other impression than that, you just rent an ear. You're just an ear for them to talk to for a while. Look, for some people, that's going to be enough for what they need at the moment, but it's not really going to give them the coaching, and it's not going to give them the impact that you could potentially be delivering as a coach. So knowing and be listening out for those moments where, hang on a minute, that's interesting. Let's come back to that. To be able to say that in a conversation, oh, tell me more about this.
Yeah.
To be able to know the right points to be able to say those things and take the conversation a bit deeper. And you said before, goes, oh, this sounds like a thing. Is this something we can go into right now, or maybe save for another time? Great. You're really listening if you can say those to your client at the right times, and they're going to get that. One of the reasons why I particularly want to marry the tactical empathy side of things into this as well, it is to use that skill of repeating back. It sounds like such a weird thing to do, but repeating back at least the tail end of a sentence of what somebody said to you, that shows that you're listening to them. That in itself is incredibly powerful. But when you can also say, do that and add on to it, what I'm understanding by this is this, you can actually check in for the understanding. Is that right? You've shown them that you've listened intently to what they said, and this is how you're understanding it. You are giving them the opportunity to either say, oh, you got it, you really understood me, or to give you that deeper level of clarity. So you want to be able to have those skills to take your conversations and your client relationships to that deeper level. And listening, it shouldn't, it should be easy for us. It shouldn't have to be a skill, but it is. And it is one that we can probably all improve over time.
Well, I would say something about that too. I feel like when I was training coaches, and it was actually a learning experience for me. It gave me a different perspective. So when I was training other coaches and I was listening to the calls, what I noticed was in the very beginning of the journey of the relationship, there was a lot more interest even in active listening, in wanting to understand. And I noticed was that the more familiar some of these coaches became with a specific client, the less they were paying attention. And I feel like there was a little bit of like I already know who this person is, and I really have to prepare for this section. And I'm just going to get in. I'll throw in a couple of things here and there, and I'm going through it. And I think it's like any relationship. I think Tony Robbins said this, like, if you want, or maybe he's not the only one, but I heard him say, like, if you want the relationship to be as great as you're going through it and toward the end, you need to behave and treat it like you do in the beginning. So I noticed that with other coaches, and it gave me a minute to say, do I do that? I don't know if I do, but it gave me something to strive toward, be intentional about. The longer you work with a client, the easier it is to become comfortable, which we've talked about. If you become comfortable, you're losing your head. It's almost like, you're being a surgeon and you're kind of like, oh, gallbladder surgery a million times. It's easy. And they're not paying attention. Maybe they're listening to them, and all of a sudden they make a mistake because they're not treating it the way they did the first time they ever did the surgery. So you really have to disallow yourself from becoming competent. And that is by treating that session, each and every session, the way you did the very first session. That's a great cautionary way to not let it, be a, mountain you climb and then you drop the client off. You should be building that relationship. It should be getting better as it progresses. So That's a good little check-in. Like, are you as in tune as you was? Are you still behaving the same way you did in session one?
Can you make it like the first time all over again?
The goal, baby. It's the goal. What?
It's my new
But
bumper
yeah.
sticker. But yeah, I like that. I like what you said there. And I do agree. And something I'd even challenge myself to do. I think it's very valuable for each of us. I think there's a level beyond as well where we want to not necessarily being comfortable with the clients, but being so conditioning ourselves to listen intently and to be fully present with our clients. It will start to come more naturally when you intently do that over a long period
Hmm.
of time. And that then allows you to take things, I think, to an even higher level where you can be listening into the context of the conversation as well. So you can actually be checking in what's the context in which we're talking about this. What I mean by that is sometimes people will just talk and they won't necessarily know no, there's not boxes they're trying to tick in a conversation to make sure they hit all
Hmm.
these things. But there's things you're going to hear and there's things you're not going to hear. And when you put it into the context of what we're talking about this and maybe why we're talking about it, why are they telling me this? This is something I do when I watch TV shows and films and stuff like that. Why are we seeing this? Something's going to happen here. This seems like
Sure.
a strange
Yeah.
cutaway. Why are we seeing this? Why
Yeah.
is this? Why is the music suddenly changed? Is being able to see things within the context of the conversation to makes it clearer when something is not being said that probably should be. It's
Mhm.
okay, you're talking about your relationships, but I'm not hearing talking about the closeness or the love. Maybe that's for instance, stuff that probably should be coming in here. So that
Right.
then is something that you can raise with us. Like, all right, we talk about this, but what about these aspects of the relationship? Is that something we can go a little deeper on? You want
Well,
to make
as you're
sure that
built
you can check in with the full context of the situation that you're going into so that you can really show them this is deep level understanding.
Absolutely. 10,000%. You and I have talked in like our previous sessions about, getting people to enroll and it not being like a sales pitchy kind of a thing. It's like value. You have to remain in the mindset that as you are progressing, they should be doing more and more and more work. There should be some kind of compounding effect because you are getting deeper. You are getting more into the grit of things. And when you do that, that is, you're just from a business perspective, folks, like you're setting yourself up with them for more positive and great outcomes. And you're setting yourself up from that business perspective that they're probably going to want to keep working with you because it's working. It's not just conversational. Nobody wants to pay for a several $100, whatever the fee is that you're charging, conversation that they can go have with a buddy or a friend. They want you to show them how to do the work. Even if they resist sometimes, even if it gets hard, they're going to step away and go, yeah, but this is really working. If you're just having that comfortable conversation, chances are you're going to keep chasing new business all the time, which we'll talk about is not, John and I were talking about that today before we started recording. So why not create a slew of raving fans who are going to stay with you and also promote and refer you? That's how you do it. If you're not listening, you're missing it. And I feel like that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that you could make as a coach.
Mm. I, I'm not sure I have a lot more that I would add on listening skills. How about you?
No. Oh, I think do it. And here's the way, how do you practice it? What you do in a session is probably what you're doing out session. So if you want to really practice or get into the habit of, try it in your relationships. Take notice of, are you doing something? Are you making dinner while you're talking? Are you really present? And maybe some conversations that are lighter are easier to have when you're washing the dishes, so to speak. I guess I wash a lot of dishes, huh? But when they are more meaningful, if somebody is sharing a meaningful event of their day, for example, did you turn and look at them? Are you engaging? Because again, I know you may not be, but it's that habit. You are going to stop what you're doing. And that's how you need to treat those sessions, as though this is a really important conversation. This person needs your full attention. And
Yeah.
practice that in your actual everyday life. And you'll get
I
more
think
in the
it
habit of
is.
doing it.
It is definitely a good thing to practice in your everyday life. Whilst I don't 100% agree with this principle, it is generally true the how you do anything is how you do everything kind of principle.
Yeah.
It's not 100% true, but it's a pretty good indicator.
It's an
And so,
indicator of your tendencies for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so doing that kind of practice and being intentional about how you want to be showing up in your own life and how you want to be present and connecting with the people who are important to you, not just paying you money to be their coach, but who are important to you because you're
Yeah.
actually having them in their life and they don't have to pay you for that. That's more powerful than, quality time is definitely more valuable than quantity time. That's true in any of your relationships. Quality time with your kids is going to be more valuable than quantity time with them, and they'll remember it more. Quality time with your
Absolutely.
partner is going to be healthier for your relationship, and you'll feel more connected to each other because of it. It's also true with your clients, and they're going to feel more connected and they're going to value you more because you're probably one of the few people in their lives who really gives them full on attention.
Yeah, you need to protect the people. That's where the trust is going to build. If you're protecting that space for them, they're going to know it. They're going to know it. People are more savvy now than when I first became a coach. It's different now because, there's more social media and there's somebody talking about something and you're like, we put some light on that and it becomes a real thing for our clients. So they're much more educated now. And many more people are getting into coaching. So they're able to kind of compare and say, this was my only experience. I didn't know any better. You want them to come to you and feel like this was a world-class experience. So yes, I've had enough to say about it for sure. Back to Joanna, but let me not.
Before we recorded the episode today, we were having a good old chinwag, as we often do. We have fun conversations. I'd love to record those for you, but oh my God, I don't think we could broadcast them. But look, one of the things we were talking about was some very expensive mistakes we've made as coaches, like financially expensive mistakes. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. It's going to be our festive Christmas episode, expensive mistakes, mostly the ones that we made. And we want to share that with you so that you can avoid them, but we can also maybe have a bit of a laugh at some of them too.
Yeah, we're definitely going to poke fun because, you don't know what you don't know. And most of the mistakes that we make, right, we hope, are because of your lack of knowledge and experience or whatever. But we're going to share ours, and I definitely think we'll have some giggles for sure. Yeah.
And maybe we'll get you to share yours as well. Hey, look, if you have anything about listening that we didn't cover today that you want to get back to us on, or questions about what we talked about today, or you have some expensive coaching mistakes of your own that you'd like to mention and we could feature in the episode, maybe get back to us. Let us know. You can email us, or you can contact us on LinkedIn. You'll find the information in the show notes for both of our LinkedIn profiles. Come and connect, reach out, messages. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
You can also leave us a voicemail. It's free to do. You can do it on your computer. And all you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/the coaching clinic podcast. Leave us your voicemail and we will read it out on the show.
Mm-hmm.
As far as listening goes, I'm done listening to you, Angie.
I'm done with you too. I'm done. Out.
Let's come back next time we talk about some expensive coaching mistakes, but have a good week till then. See you.
All right. Bye-bye for now.